J.P. Morgan was synonymous with wealth, power, and influence. He created the first billion-dollar company and dominated the most profitable industries in the United States. On several occasions, the American economy literally depended on his decisions. Just one word from him or his signature on a document could save a company from bankruptcy or lead it to ruin. Here is his story. John Pierpont Morgan was born in Connecticut in 1837 into a wealthy family. His father, Junior Spencer Morgan, was a successful banker. Despite his wealth, his childhood was marked by serious health problems, including coughing, migraines, and epileptic seizures. These often forced him to stay indoors, where he devoted himself to studying and reading financial documents. Due to a severe rheumatic fever, his father sent him to live alone in the Azores Islands, where he stayed for almost a year, hoping that the climate and salty air would help him recover. Upon his return, he resumed his studies and, thanks to his father's influence, began working on Wall Street for the bank that managed his father's interests in America. Here, he drafted financial and political reports. However, his father feared he was too impulsive and urged him to learn control. At the age of 24, John founded his own firm while continuing to work as an agent for his father's bank in England. In the same year, he married Amelia Sturgis, but their happiness was interrupted by her fragile health, as she was struck by tuberculosis, a disease that led to her death. Meanwhile, the United States was facing the Civil War. Despite avoiding military service by paying a substitute, John profited from the war. He capitalized on the war by financing the purchase of rifles deemed obsolete by the government and reselling them at a 600% profit. In 1871, John collaborated with Anthony Drexel to found Drexel, Morgan & Company. With his growing wealth and reputation, John financed large-scale projects, focusing on the American railway system, characterized by intense competition. He heavily invested in railway companies, consolidating them through acquisitions, management optimization, and merging them into a single dominant entity. He purchased 250,000 shares of New York Central Railroad and underwrote the sale of $40 million in bonds to finance the Northern Pacific Railroad. Soon, he owned one-third of all railways in the United States, playing a crucial role in consolidating the industry. With his intimidating appearance and aggressive personality, he had consolidated his power in the railway sector. However, in 1901, Theodore Roosevelt became president and opposed Morgan's monopolistic practices. Morgan had created the Northern Securities Corporation by consolidating several regional railways, but Roosevelt viewed his actions critically. Roosevelt ordered the Department of Justice to bring a lawsuit against the Northern Securities Corporation for violating the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. Despite defense attempts, the corporation was broken up. In 1901, Andrew Carnegie was ready to sell his company, Carnegie Steel. John Pierpont Morgan offered to buy it without hesitation, agreeing to the price of $480 million, the largest commercial transaction up to that point. After acquiring Carnegie Steel, he merged it with the Federal Steel Company and other firms, forming U.S. Steel in 1901. John Pierpont Morgan didn't just dominate the steel and railway industries but also influenced emerging sectors like electricity and telecommunications. He financed Thomas Edison's experiments and contributed to the creation of General Electric and AT&T. However, his power couldn't prevent the economic crisis of 1893, when the United States faced an unprecedented depression, with plummeting stocks, closed businesses, and rising unemployment rates. John presented a drastic plan to save America from economic collapse. The plan involved purchasing $65 million worth of 30-year gold bonds, using 3.5 million ounces of gold. Morgan's swift actions led to the purchase of all the gold bonds in just 22 minutes, restoring stability and confidence in the financial market. This intervention by Morgan was crucial in saving the United States from economic collapse. In 1907, the United States faced another severe financial crisis, pushing numerous banking institutions to the brink of collapse and triggering panic among depositors, who queued for long hours to withdraw their money from their accounts. During this financial crisis, Roosevelt and Morgan, despite their differences, agreed on the need for joint action between the government and big businesses to avoid a depression. Morgan convened major financiers and banking leaders in his private study to plan an intervention. Morgan's strategy involved investing substantial sums to stabilize the financial system, focusing on assisting smaller competitors to prevent their collapse. During the 1907 financial crisis, Morgan and his colleagues decided to save some banks by depositing substantial sums of money into them to prevent their failure and ensure they had enough funds to pay depositors. With this approach, Morgan hoped to contain the crisis and restore stability to the American banking system. After presenting the plan, he kept the bankers in the room until they agreed. The plan received Roosevelt's approval, and the United States Treasury also contributed $25 million, demonstrating the president's confidence in Morgan's business acumen. It's remarkable that John was 70 years old at that time and negotiated all of this while suffering from a bad cold, coughing and sneezing as he tried to save the U.S. economy. However, his plan eventually worked, much capital was injected back into the economy, public confidence in the American banking system was restored, and another economic disaster was averted thanks to Morgan's efforts. This raised concerns about the concentrated power in the hands of a single individual and raised the question of the need for more robust institutions to prevent future economic disasters. John Pierpont Morgan found himself increasingly under scrutiny as the era of unbridled tycoons came to an end. Summoned to testify before the Pujo Committee, he became the symbol of Wall Street power. Despite his financial success, his mental health began to deteriorate, experiencing nervous breakdowns due to negative portrayal in the media. John Pierpont Morgan, scheduled among the passengers of the Titanic for its inaugural voyage, avoided the tragedy due to health issues. The Pujo Committee, with its investigations into power concentration on Wall Street, led to the establishment of the Federal Reserve, recognizing that the economy could not rely solely on ultra-wealthy and powerful individuals. Morgan did not live long enough to see the consequences of the investigations, passing away on March 31, 1913, in Rome, at the age of 75. After the death of John Pierpont Morgan, his son took control of the company, continuing its expansion. Today, J.P. Morgan Chase still raises concerns for its excessive power in the banking sector, with numerous acquisitions and mergers, including those with Bank One, Bear Stearns, and Chase Bank in 2000. This has made J.P. Morgan Chase the largest bank in the world by market capitalization, with an estimated asset of $3 trillion after 2 centuries of consolidation in the industry. Therefore, John Pierpont Morgan's legacy continues to influence the world of finance today. For this story, that's all. If you want to see more videos like this, I recommend checking out the channel's content and subscribing if you haven't already. Goodbye and see you next time.